Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Injustice for All with Judge Joe Brown. How are you, Judge?
Hey, it's all right. Little chilled. It's cold outside, but yeah,
Yes, it is.
Mother Nature being chilly.
Is it still icy in Tennessee, in Memphis?
Yeah, it rained yesterday. It warmed up, then it dropped back down to freezing, washed away a lot of the snow some places, but in the residential areas, it's still a mess, a hot mess.
Oh, wow. Well, speaking of a hot mess, let's talk about Congress and the voting ID and the SAVE Act. But I want to start off with Chuck Schumer because he got a lot of backlash for comparing the SAVE Act to Jim Crow 2.0. So I want to play this clip here.
Ready for your questions. Go ahead.
What do you see the plaintiff's argument that the Senate rules allow the majority to require the minority to stage a talking filibuster to stop the SAVE Act?
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it. Yes.
Leader Jeffries just said that awful, but Boone just said he doesn't think that it's going to be enough time to secure the meaningful reform that he wants. How confident are you that you can achieve that by?
If Leader Thune negotiates in good faith, we can get it done. We expect to present to the Republicans a very serious, detailed proposal very shortly. Yes.
You are negotiating directly with the White House. He's not part of these negotiations. Are you negotiating?
First, Leader Thune has to and should be part of these negotiations. And second, the House vote just passed, and we're going to present a serious proposal, detailed along the outlines of what we have talked about, to the Republicans, both in the Senate, the House, and the White House, very shortly. Yes.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Good afternoon. In the House vote that just happened right now, Leader Jeffries and his top members of Democratic leadership voted against this deal that you guys negotiated here in the Senate. Is there a disconnect between you and Leader Jeffries?
Leader Jeffries and I are talking all the time, and we'll be meeting this afternoon to continue our discussion. Thank you.
Now,
That's a stupid appeal. That's a very insulting appeal to stupid Negroes. And they're send $19 a month to the Save a Negro Fund supporters. Now, last I checked, let's see, you need your ID to drive a motor vehicle, right?
yes.
You need your ID to get on an airplane. You need your ID to get on a boat. You need your ID. You supposedly do it if you land at a major terminal to get back in the country, though some folk want to leave the borders wide open. Some people want to remove ICE so they can not seize the people that trespassed and broke and entered the borders. And perhaps this shows why, when they get to focusing on the so-called evil of needing ID to vote, is because they want to take these illegals in and keep California and New York, etc., from losing at least 6 congressional seats due to flights of population from those states and the others that are concerned. Now, that's so they can keep this sick agenda they've been trying to push for the last several decades going. And it's failing because the American public is waking up to the fact that, hey, we don't all think like this. This is just this communications industry that certain factions control that's trying to lie to us and tell us we do. Now, back to that. You go to a movie and it's R-rated or PG after 6 o'clock on Friday and the weekends. You have to show ID. You're in a restaurant, you got to show ID to get a bottle of wine. You got to show ID if you try to get in a bar. You got to show ID to get in a nightclub. Show ID if you want to buy whiskey. show ID if you want to cash a check, deposit a check, withdraw money from your bank account. All of these things you need ID from. And something as serious as voting, these clowns want to tell us that it's Jim Crow 2.0 because you want to see that this person is who they represent they are. And then we heard the lies about we have to get Trump because he tried to wrongfully steal an election by telling somebody in Georgia, find me 11,000 more votes, which we find there were to be found because we now know that they've been cheating. And then you put this into the context of they shouldn't be allowed to go through and audit all of these actual ballots to see if these votes actually were cast. It's over and it's done. No, we need to see how badly we got lied to. And all of this is part of this whole process. It's Jim Crow 2.0 to require identification to vote. And all of these other more mundane things require ID to do. So I don't get it. I mean, bank robbers, welfare queens have driver's licenses and also to cash those checks and get food stamp cards and all that other stuff. But so you can't have that to vote? What are they up to? That doesn't make dog sense.
It doesn't. I want to play this clip here because this is Karen Kennedy. And I like the story and the analogy she's using when it comes to ID. Pretty much what you was just saying.
I have to share with you something crazy and abhorrent that happened to me today. I go to the post office, go into town post office to pick up my package. Finally arrived after being bounced around. Anyway, that's not the bad part. That's just not the bad part. You are not going to believe this. I stand in line. I wait my turn. You know, unlike at the border and all. I wait my turn. I get up to the front desk and I tell her I have a package. Very nice lady. Very nice. The nicest lady I've ever seen. Do you know what she had the nerve to do? Do you know what this nice woman had the nerve and the gall to do? She asked me for my ID. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm filing a complaint. She asked me for my ID, for my package that was addressed to me. She asked me to prove who I am. Can you believe this nonsense? She asked me for ID. I'm black. What if I didn't have an ID? I was told I wasn't supposed to have an ID. That there's things going on that prevent me from getting an ID. So how is this justice? I'm filing a complaint. That's it. I am highly offended. I wonder if this is what happens when you vote. Are they going to ask me for my ID because I'm offended during Black History Month? Wow. I'm filing a complaint. That's it. I've had it. I've had it.
I love the sarcasm. That was
right.
great.
Karen Kennedy, you know, she has a large following on X and TikTok, and she goes hard on the Democrats, but very accurate with what she's saying. So, yeah.
You know, it's absolutely extraordinary. There are so many requirements for ID. And see, the other thing, too, that they're screwing up on is this tranny thing. Oh, it's a girl. No, it's not a girl. It's a boy who is mentally ill and delusionally thinking that they are a girl. What happens if you need to put out a broadcast? Say the person got kidnapped. Say the person is a suspect in a crime. How do you describe that? Look for a woman, you know, with a beard. What in the hell are you talking about? With a beard, you know. When you describe the person in a fashion that can be used for reliable identification. But then again, remember, I guess law enforcement's not to say there's an all points bulletin out for a suspect in an armed robbery where 3 people were shot and the person is driving a dark green Camaro. All right, fine. Who are we looking for to stop? A woman? Like, no, that's not what we have here. We've got a guy who all he's got to do is take his makeup and his wig off and put on some boy clothes. And what he is what he is. And they're out looking for a woman instead of a guy, sissy. But, it is what it is. So what's happened to reality here? Guy's walking down the street. He's 27 years old. He's thinking about, hey, it's cold. I wish I had somebody real nice at home. Oh, wow. She really looks hot. Hey, that's cool. He's girl watching. And then it turns out to be a boy. And he going, dang, man.
To a voting ID.
I mean, it's the same thing. This voting ID objection is brought to the same people who are confusing what ID is about. In other words, you don't have to identify as a man if you don't want to. You can become a woman. You don't have to identify as a woman if you are one. You can identify as a man. You can go in and not need ID to vote, or you can go in and you can fake anything you want to, which requires more intense ID these days, because it has been popularized by the same Democratic Party about general faking it across the board. See, it doesn't make any sense to me, because one party is trying to ramp up the violence, but they're screaming about it. They've been trying to censor stuff, and yours truly has been censored a whole bunch lately, and we get that problem with our show getting censored. But they are the ones that are claiming that the Republicans are responsible for censorship. They are the ones that are opened up the southern border for 4 whole years, and millions of people came in, including our very dangerous national enemies. They came across the border, and California and New York and other crazy far blue places are getting so screwed up that a lot of people are leaving, and they're about to lose congressional representation, which losing 6 in the House right now would be an absolute disaster to their cause. So here they are, no ID, no border security. ICE is supposed to back off and not arrest or detain or look for members of cartels, but convicted murderers, rapists, sex offenders, people who are suffering from incurable diseases, people who are ISIS, Hamas, Al Qaeda, etc., from North Korea, all of our enemies. We're not supposed to go seize them because some reason or another it's supposed to be bad to enforce the law that's not based on anything that has anything to do with ethnicity. Is, are you an American citizen?
Now, let's go down memory lane here. Speaking of ID, this is Obama in 2012.
Oh, you're right. Hold on. I got my driver's license. Here you go. Oh, you're right.
She said, I need some ID. He said, oh, you're right. There you go.
Now, let's stop right there. As a historical accuracy, it took him 18 months after getting in the White House to get a birth certificate from Hawaii. Historical reality. 3 people from Hawaii who were on my show back in early 1999, needed birth certificates, get passports. They worked on my show. So in my office, I called Vital Statistics over in Oahu, Honolulu, and put on my card the expedited fees for this, and 3 days later, they got their birth certificates delivered to the studio. Now, the President of the United States couldn't get his birth certificate supposedly for 18 months. But now here's the interesting kicker. Because of California and New York, just saying after they decided it's safer for the people if we let illegals get driver's licenses in California and New York, and they started issuing them, those driver's licenses were no longer valid ID, and you can't get on an airplane without them now. So now you have to go back and get a real ID, which after I've had a driver's license for 50 some years in Tennessee, I couldn't get until I got a birth certificate, which took me almost a year to get from Washington, D.C., where it's so screwed up. I only stumbled on how to get it by accident. You remember me going through that. Finally, I got it. Got the passport card expeditiously, very quickly. But it is a real live mess. And the interesting thing is, our president, Obama, wouldn't have been able to show any ID because it would have taken him 18 months to get a birth certificate, which you now need to get your real ID from a state with that little star up in the corner. See, that's how screwed up they have gotten.
Right.
And that's what they've caused. See, when they do this stuff with all this little namby-pamby-poo self-righteous bull, there are consequences. And understand, before, you could rely on the action of the state and give full faith and credit to what another state has done. This person's got ID. It shows he's an American citizen. Okay, we can let him on a plane. Now, we're worried about 911 stuff. Somebody might be bogus and they want to hijack this airplane, but they don't need to hijack an airplane now because they got let across the border with backpacks full of what could be military-grade explosives and detonation devices, so they don't have to die in the process of taking some of us out doing a jihad thing. So they can watch them from the distance and say, let's just watch the fireworks. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, spectacular. See,
I wanna play this next video here because it just highlights the majority of Americans want voter ID.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non.
Take a look.
I'm surprised this is CNN reporting this. Now,
it's trendy. It was Nicki Minaj. That was one of their favorites. So, yeah.
Well, this is Representative John Thune, Thune. He's saying now he wants to back off the SAVE Act. Voter IDs aren't worth the hassle. Yes, it is, especially when a majority of Americans of all background want it. So this is his remarks.
Okay, let's listen here.
Filibuster to try to outlast the Democratic minority under current rules. Do you have any expectation that you can succeed with that, given the enormous difficulty of doing that? In fact, the big majority has not been able to.
Right. Well, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions. There are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate. And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of. So we will have those discussions, but that's obviously ties the floor up for an indefinite amount of time with not only unlimited debate, but also unlimited amendments.
All right, rather we had the Senate Majority Leader and the Speaker of the House speaking at the same time. That's why we're jumping back.
My, aren't they so off into precision requirements when aren't they the ones that want to have special pronouns where we throw precision in the English language out the window and we start using plural forms as though you are referring to singular stuff instead of we are all here, instead of saying I am here. You say, what is we is here? What is that? They is here. They are here. That's a plural thing. I'm a they. That's my special pronoun. No, fool, I don't even feel like I need to know your damn name, ignoramus, let alone worry about memorizing special pronouns.
What are you talking about?
In other words, you have to look at the big holistic picture. It's a context out there. And what they are doing, to show their hypocrisy, is they're asking for absolute precision and trust, but yet they turn around and trust nobody. They elect a slew of politicians from Pelosi all the way down who have gotten rich, getting $100 million worth of well-to-do, and all she's got her whole life is a public servant salary. So they want us to elect crooked politicians, accept the appointment of crooked appointed officials, and trust them, but they don't trust that the Americans have any good sense. And then remember their cockamamie educational requirements. Black people are supposed to, or Negroes, excuse me, are supposed to be so damn stupid they can't figure out how to get a driving license or get a state ID or even Google something that's supposed to be accurate, but now I guess not. So what is it? You either have your cake or you eat the cake. And what they want is for everybody to be stuck on stupid, but when it comes to the other side, everybody's supposed to say they didn't use the right terminology.
So this is the bill here, the SAVE Act. And, I think people should start looking stuff like this up. It says the bill requires individuals to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. Specifically, the bill prohibits states from accepting and processing an application to register to vote in federal elections unless the applicant presents documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. The bill specifies what documents are considered acceptable proof of U.S. citizenship, such as identification that compiles with Real ID Act of 2005 that indicates U.S. citizenship. Further, the bill prohibits states from registering an individual to vote in federal elections unless at the time the individual applies to register to vote, the individual provides documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. 2, requires states to establish an alternative process under which an applicant may submit other evidence to demonstrate U.S. citizenship. Each state must take affirmative steps on an ongoing basis to ensure that only U.S. citizens are registered to vote, which shall include establishing a program to identify individuals who are not U.S. citizens. Using information supplied by certain sources. Additionally, states must remove non-citizens from their official lists of eligible voters. The bill allows for a private right of action against an election official who registers an applicant to vote in federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. The bill establishes criminal penalties for certain offenses, including registering an applicant to vote in a federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. So, what is the problem? Why is it that the Democrats want to try to filibuster, halt, vote against the SAVE Act when, again, the majority of Americans of all backgrounds agree that, yes, we should have voter ID. And this is a very sound bill that should already have been passed. That should have been bipartisan easy.
Because I'm back, got cut off again. Interestingly, the topic that cut me off, censorship, we were just talking about that. It's not strange when you look at the context. They want to keep control of, or get control of the House and the Senate and perhaps the White House by stuffing the ballot boxes with votes cast by people who are illegally here. They don't want the ones that they let in captured and sent back. They don't want to show that somebody who's not eligible to vote isn't eligible to vote because they are against ID. They don't want it to be a crime to break the law to carry out this conspiracy to deprive the electorate in this republic of the effect of their votes. It's disgusting. And the fact that they expect people to sit there and deal with this with a straight face. Oh, yeah, you know, that's really bad. They're arresting these people and they're being harsh, you know. It's just wrong. They shouldn't be allowed to arrest. Well, what the devil do you want them to do? You guys broke the law, so would you please tell us who you are so we can get you a plane ticket back to wherever you came from? Oh, you don't like it there, so you're not coming back. Oh, you're a member of Al Qaeda or one of its affiliates, and you were going to blow something up in a few years when you're told to, and you don't want to identify. Oh, we understand. Meanwhile, oh, you're frustrated because you didn't pay attention in class from kindergarten through high school. So you're frustrated that your broke ass can't afford what you dream of and you want a quick fix to it. So you want everybody to take care of you and you want to burn something down. Oh, go right ahead. You know, that's what you can do. And oh, by the way, so you can get people in who will back this up. You don't need to identify yourself as even being entitled to be here, let alone vote here. So, you know, it's like, what kind of game are these fools trying to run on us?
Right. Well, the president, it says after President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed a government funding measure to end a partial government shutdown, funding fights still lie ahead, this time entirely centered on the contents of a bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and that would be to also fund ICE. Now, Chuck Schumer today is, now he is saying that it's okay for ICE agents to wear masks in unusual circumstances. So now he's backtracking that. Also, Republicans are escalating their calls to pass the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility SAVE Act, a bill intended to require voter ID and reduce voter fraud in federal elections as conditions of passing the final funding package for DHS. So the Senate Democrats, who have demanded sweeping reforms to DHS and its subsidiary Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, as a condition for their support of the funding legislation have described this as a non-starter in the upper chambers.
Okay, this is the same people that was all off into everybody has to get inoculated for COVID-19. Everybody has to wear a mask for COVID-19. And ICE agents are going out to seek out and apprehend people that are known to have a possibility, if not probability, of having an incurable disease like tuberculosis of certain strains. So they need the mask on for personal protection. Also, there's another thing too. The mask ought to prevent them from being identified by the crazies out there that the Democratic Party is trying to galvanize into an unofficial murder contingent. Let's go kill some American officers, American law enforcement officers. Oh, they're evil because they're trying to protect the country. We don't want the country protected. We want to make the military a social experiment, sissify the thing up, and erase masculinity. So yeah, let's go out there. We've got all these objectives that we want to encourage, and we don't want anything to stand in our way. So yeah, look at the big picture. It's pretty bad. And then a party has devolved into not just being the party of slavery, of oppression. It has become pushers of a rainbow cult because I guess they had no cause. They didn't have King Cotton anymore, so now they got Tranny Queen Rainbow to push. And they have to push their rainbow Negro type, and the others that go on that, and all of these woke folk that are so upset about discrimination and everything else because they're Negro, and they don't look at there being any opportunity for them to profit from hard work, and they like being victims and like being entitled and given stuff. Okay, what are you doing when you do this and you appeal to that kind of stupidity?
Right. Well, it goes on to say here that, and this is by the Epcot Times. I like that website. It says
Epoch Times, yes.
How you pronounce it?
Epoch.
Epoch. Yeah, Epoch Times. The DHS bill was separated from a larger trench of spending bills after Democrats refused to support it in the aftermath of the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty by immigration agents in Minneapolis. Trump has expressed support for the measure, calling for voter ID laws to be included in the package. Now, the bill signed by Trump finalizes full year funding for 96% of the government, leaving all executive departments except DHS funding until September 30th. The funding for DHS, meanwhile, is set to run out February the 13th. The president also called for the federal government to nationalize or take over elections if states cannot run them legally and honestly. So DHS funding will run out on the 13th if this SAVE Act is not passed, because the Democrats did not support the full bill to the partial shutdown. So only all the other executive branches are funded except for DHS, which goes back. So how does this tie to the SAVE Act? Because they don't want
well, it's all part of the big thing. Look what they did. They shut the government down for a record 43 days. You know what it was about? When the lies get dispensed with and the truth comes out, the Democrats shut the government down because the Republicans wouldn't go along with providing up to $5,000 a month for a family of 4 illegals when Americans couldn't even get any benefits. The Republican Party wouldn't go along with providing free medical care for illegals when there are so many born in America, legitimate, lived here a long time American citizens who can't get effective health care? See, those two things are what shut the government down before. Now they want to shut it down because you don't want these illegals that you were trying to protect on the first episode of government shut down in 12 months. You want to now make sure that they don't get caught. So I guess they want to have another building blown up or another 3,000 plus people die in the next 911 episode, which is likely to be much worse.
Well, and two, and the reason why they don't want to SAFE Act the Democrats, because if you are required to show ID in the state of California, which they allow you not to have ID, in New York City, you don't have to have voter ID. But if you are now required to have voter ID, wouldn't that affect a lot of the elections on a local level?
Yes. And there's another thing too. I participated in 5 census episodes, 6 actually as an adult. And the one for 2020 was the only time I was not asked if I was a U.S. citizen. It was the only time I was not asked if my parents were American citizens and how they got to be there. Trump, when he was in office, was trying to get that counted, but he got blocked. So now for the 2020 census, you don't know whether these people that they're counting in the population that Article 1 of the Constitution says shall be counted for primary purposes of determining apportionment of representation in the U.S. House. So they're trying to steal these elections like they did in 2020 when they cheated, lied, and stole the election.
Right. Now, let's highlight something with the Supreme Court and elections, right? So it says here, the Supreme Court allows new California congressional map that favors Democrats. The ruling comes after the court in December upheld a new Texas congressional map that benefits Republicans. So the Supreme Court on February the 4th allowed California to use its newly redrawn congressional map that aims to give Democrats 5 extra seats in the upcoming midterms election. The decision in Tangipa versus Newsom came in an unsigned order. No justices dissented. The court did not explain its ruling. California Republicans have filed an emergency application with the court on January 20th, asking the justices to block the map that gives Democrats an electoral advantage. The new ruling comes after, what is this? Okay. The new ruling comes after the court on December the 4th in 2025 upheld a redrawn election map that aimed to increase Republican representation in Texas U.S. House delegation by 5 seats. Republicans had argued that the new California map, which voters authorized in November 2025 by approving Proposition 50, constitutes unlawful racial gerrymandering that the Federal Voting Rights Act prohibits. So,
actually, what the Supreme Court did is they just said this has been the law for the longest time in this country. They didn't deviate from it and let the cards fall where they do. If you control a constituency by its composition, and the composition is allowed to stand, then it does what it does. That's why you have so many fools in Congress, because they represent a fool's district. And that goes along with this old American saying, you get the representation you deserve. Now, if you've got a bunch of wise folk from other districts, and they have to put up with a Jasmine Crockett or idiots like that, it is what it is.
so Do you think the Supreme Court said, well, we allowed it for Texas, we have to allow it for California?
Well, the reason they allowed it for Texas is what they did was in compliance with the law. This is just as, oh, my feelings are hurt. I need to have what I want. No, you don't necessarily get what you want. It's like, I want to win this game so bad. I put all this money on it. No, your team got its ass kicked. It wasn't good. It lost by 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, you lost. Did they play by the rules? No violation of the rule book. It's just get a better team.
Well, speaking of football, before we get up out of here. So this was the White House press conference today, and Carolyn Levitt says President Trump will much prefer the TPUSA Kid Rock halftime performance over Bad Bunny. So I want to just play this real quick because she was asked the question, what halftime show is he going to watch, Kid Rock or Bad Bunny?
Just one more about this weekend. At the Mar-a-Lago Super Bowl party, after the first 2 quarters, are the TVs going to be on the halftime show with Bad Bunny or the halftime show with Kid Rock?
I think the president would much prefer a Kid Rock performance over Bad Bunny. I must say that. Jennifer.
On the nuclear.
So, because, Super Bowl is this weekend.
Super Bowls are so disgusting these days. They have morphed into something that's trying to appeal to 9-year-old children. You don't have any interesting commercials. Remember the Office linebacker and the Budweiser frog commercials and the bird commercials that were so entertaining and far out there. And now they have the winner of the best commercial is featuring a Snoopy balloon in the Macy's Day Parade. And you can't look at the football game. You have to have the computer generated yellow and black lines because people that don't know the rules have to be said, well, if the ball gets to here and then they get to a real football game for the foot time, this is a bad stadium. Why? Because they didn't have, where were the lines? Fool, those are computer generated. Those aren't real. See that chain over there with the pinions on the end? That's how you determine it. Watch that. Look at the rules. You're watching the game, figure out what's going on. And then the rules have gotten so crazy. It's like, is this football? I mean, I'm looking at them right now, and they've changed the way people can hit and tackle and all that other stuff. They don't even wear near pads anymore. And I'm looking, what?
Who are you going to watch, Kid Rock or Bad Bunny or nothing?
I'm not going to watch any of it because I think it's ridiculous. I think they're overpaid. There are too many games and too many teams. I'm talking about, I don't ever watch that after they.
I'm talking about
I know, but I'm saying after they jacked up Janet Jackson for that wardrobe malfunction, I said, I don't have anything to do with it anymore. And then when they let Lizzo go on for a Lakers playoff with her bare flabby behind up there, twerking for 3 whole minutes in front of all of these children, I said, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay.
So, no, I don't even watch that nonsense.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Injustice for All with Judge Joe Brown. Bye.